Don't hear a thing. Not one rat, one bat. Dead quiet.
Let's try metal.
As I said, he despises guests.
You should not have meddled!
As the blood moon rises to its zenith, we reach the final entry in our vampiric bestiary, the higher vampires. The unique classification and a separation by a large degree from the rest of the blood-drinking family. It is important to note that while many sentient vampires are classified as higher vampires on occasion, they are not true higher vampires. Catacans, Bruxa, Mulars, Nosferats, all sentient to an extent, with varying levels of supernatural strengths. Some even capable of mimicking humans.
I'll sing to you.
Yet they are not akin to the likes of those that came first through the portal, from their homeland at the time of the conjunction of the spheres. When the conjunction occurred, it smashed together realms of the multiverse, the mixing of worlds and creatures that had no business being merged. The vampire species were among those that came through, an alien and immortal race so vastly different than humans or elves.
I dare say it was worse for us. You arrived by the thousands, we were but a handful. Not much choice, assimilate with you, or shut ourselves off from the world, like him.
Their ancient culture and history is for the most part lost to time, lost when the portals closed forever. Yet there is some information left in those rare places of conjunction, places that leak with the mystical energy of a home that was lost so many years ago. Higher vampires are very secretive and tend to isolate themselves from the mundane lives of other creatures. What can be gleaned is little understood by humans. It is said that 3 vampire tribes were present at the time of conjunction and went their separate ways. Garisham, Amarun, and Tedet. Little is left behind of these tribes, aside from their sigils and glyphs and markings.
Their emblems, symbols of, what you would call tribes, dispersed throughout the world after the conjunction. My ancestors placed them here to remind us all where we came from.
Which tribe's this?
Garisham, my tribe, and Deadlove's. We both remained in this part of the world.
There are some that still cling to the past. The ties are too strong to their home. They could never adapt their ways or integrate themselves into a strange new world. The Unseen Elder is one of them.
You see, somewhere nearby lives an unusual denizen, one of the unseen, ancient and powerful vampires, among the oldest and strongest.
Let's try metal.
Sporenni veres nats atrannes, avile cleva Regis etu.
Forever watchful, forever patient, the Unseen Elder is the respected and most feared of the higher vampires that make their home in this land of blood and wine. As mentioned before, he clings to the old world, unchanging. He stands as a guard watching the portals, in hope that they will someday open again.
There lies the gate between this world and ours. It is closed, but it shall open once more. In 100 of your years. 203. Soon. Now speak.
Time is on his side after all. The immortal creature cannot be slain by anything lesser than one of his own kind. And for a higher vampire to attempt this would be a grievous error. He has little patience for other vampires, and anything below that, a human for instance. They are but insects to be swatted. It is impossible to know what knowledge is stored within the memory of such an ancient being, as you'd be foolish to ask questions. One misplaced word or the slightest notion of insolence, and the blood will leave your body quicker than you can say.
No, wait.
Not all higher vampires are quick-tempered, cold, and detached from the human world. Some, such as Emiel, Regis, Rahelic, Terzif, Godfroy, are friends to humans. Stoic, well-balanced, and humorous, Regis is one of the few who sits at ease amongst humans, so long as he is well disguised, of course. You may think his profession, a barber and a medic, strange for a vampire, yet noble Regis gave up the delicacy of blood a long time ago. For higher vampires, drinking blood is an indulgence, not a necessity, like drinking a fine Beauclair wine. Regis finds his home in a crypt, not far from the city of Beauclair, his garden littered with graves. A little ironic for a medic vampire with a habit of saving human lives. It is quaint and humble, at least by vampire standards. It is here that he muses, ponders, and thinks his long life over. Regis even keeps a journal. His thoughts are not so different from humans that worry as they succumb to sleep. A poetic and philosophical soul. An intimate look into Regis's inner thoughts, which are very human and empathetic. If we were to create a god as the humans have, what would he be like? If there is no death, does life exist? The philosophical pennings of a higher vampire. Regis is certainly an outlier amongst his brethren, and a loyal friend to Geralt of Rivia. The two have shared many an adventure, and it reaches its end in the land of Toussaint.
I can remember a night, not too far from here if I'm not mistaken. We hid in a cave while a blizzard raged all about. Does that sound at all familiar?
How could it not? We just set off to rescue Ciri from Vilgefortz.
Oh, our encounter with Vilgefortz. That is something I do not remember so fondly.
Humans and higher vampires, however, have had a troubled and gruesome past. Many did not share Regis's affinity for humankind. Rather than keeping them as friends, they'd sooner keep them as cattle.
Human husbandry and care? This for real?
I'd like to be able to turn back time, deny it, but alas, I can do neither. Feel shame for my brethren. That is all I can do.
There were many that overfed, cold humans with a reckless abandon that would endanger the rest of their tribe.
One among us named Kagmar developed such a taste and lust for human blood that in one night he could imbibe an entire village. This brought trouble on the entire species. Common folk wearied quickly of living in constant fear. They began to hunt us, seek the aid of mages and witches in tracking us down.
So what? Not like they could ever hope to kill you.
But they were bothersome. Forgive the comparison, but when did you last enjoy mosquitoes buzzing around your head?
Vampires may be far more powerful than the average human, but they will always be outnumbered. There lived another higher vampire in Beauclair, a friend to Regis. However, lines would be drawn and friends would become embittered, failing to understand each other's views. The Witcher Geralt of Rivia had a hand in this tale. The tale of the beast of Beauclair that beset the city, sicking his vampiric horde on many innocents. Detlef was passionate, rash, and had a stark viewpoint of humans, whereas Regis saw the nuance, Detlef could not.
Detlef, it's not that simple.
Oh no, it's very simple. You either deceived me or not.
Like Regis, Detlef had his own unique abilities and strengths. An exceptional vampire and a born leader. He nursed Regis back to health when he was nothing but a red smear on the ground, the handiwork of Vilgefortz the mage. Detlef showed a great deal of compassion for his fellow vampire. He sacrificed his own blood to regenerate him fully. Regis was indebted to him because of this selfless act. Yet the two would come to blows, and Regis would have to put down his old friend who had walked down a darker path. For it is only another higher vampire that can fell one of their own, and for doing this Regis would pay a high price.
Leave him to me. Be gone.
I can't let...
I insist.
Exile and disgrace, he would become anathema, shunned by all vampire kind.
Trivial. Either one is with us, unconditionally, regardless of the circumstances, or
Won't let it go, will they?
they will not. Fortunately, we've another rule, an unwritten one, and just as trivial as the first. It is neatly summarized in the saying, out of sight, out of mind. That is why I must leave Toussaint. For a vastly long time, most like.
Higher vampires have remarkable regenerative abilities. Nothing can kill them, even dismemberment, burning, drowning. They do not even need to breathe. It is hard to pin down all of their strengths, as higher vampires, as mentioned before, are unique and exceptional in their own ways. It is fairly standard, however, that they can read and control the minds of lesser beings.
He sleeps.
Will you wake him?
Perhaps not.
Turn invisible or into a puff of smoke on a whim, and all possess an unmatched supernatural strength. There is not a whole lot a witcher can do, if unaided. They have no need for a corporeal form. Higher vampires can exist in whichever form they choose. Yet many decide to take the form similar to humanity, perhaps in an act of assimilation. Although, when pushed, some can take a form fearsome and terrible, perhaps something more akin to their original guise. Who knows how many higher vampires still remain in the world? Humans will never gain their secrets. It is likely they will be long forgotten in the wake of a new world, a world bereft of monsters and magic. The night of long fangs has finally come to an end. Thank you for watching this brief series on the vampires of The Witcher. Stay tuned for more soon. Good night, and don't let the vampires bite.
I so don't feel like going anywhere. Sit here a while longer?
So we shall, my friend. We have witnessed, and in fact on several occasions incited, many great and weighty events. After all that toil, I believe we deserve a bit of a rest.
That we do.